My name is Sashidhar Annaluru. I'm head of engineering for VeloCloud in Broadcom for all the VeloCloud, the SD-WAN and SASE products. And we'll be presenting this discussion in tandem with
Duncan MacDonald. Man, he's got a better title than me. Senior Director of Product Development for RapidScale. We're a managed service provider owned by Cox Communications.
Okay, so we will start our presentation talking about Edge AI in the infrastructure. The division that we are in called SDE Software Defined Edge in Broadcom. We were part of VMware. Now, as part of the acquisition, we became part of Broadcom. And in SDE, we have 3 layers of products to help our customers and partners to provide AI infrastructure at the edge. So those 3 layers are the network layer, and then you look at the edge compute layer. Edge compute layer is for running the workloads at the edge, especially AI workloads. I think that would be helpful there. And then the network layer is the underlay connectivity. So the middle layer that you see as the intelligent overlay is where the SD-WAN comes into play. There, SD-WAN has visibility into applications, how applications are behaving and performing. At the same time, we have visibility into the underlay links, how the underlay links are performing. So we would be able to correct any mistakes or any issues that are happening in the underlay circuits and provide a better performance to the applications. So that's the intelligent overlay, that's the cream that you see. So when you put that in a picture, that's how it looks like, a cookie. So edge compute on the top layer and the network on the bottom layer and the middle creamy layer connecting these two. So with that, we go into our presentation. So we would divide this presentation into like few parts. The first, we will talk about the motivations for SASE and how do we need to provide SASE as a cloud delivered service. And after that, we will double click onto a few components of SASE, especially the connectivity part, and then addressing the remote hybrid workforce. I know we are all in the hybrid work environments, and then providing the defense at the edge compared to like what we normally do, like a centralized defense versus distributed defense. And then finally wrapping up with the visibility reporting. And we are engineers at heart. We want to show you the numbers. How technology is one thing, but how is it deployed and what are the numbers and how do things work. And Duncan would be going at how they are using VeloCloud to solve their customer issues and deployments. Okay, so let's look at the motivation part. According to Gartner, 50% of the data generation happens outside of the data centers by 2027. So like a wide range of environments, and we know that especially with the proliferation of the content generation and the AI, the data is the utmost important thing. And this gets generated everywhere else, anywhere. So we need to be able to access that data, bring in the data efficiently in a secure manner. And the next one is like 40% of IT professionals, they say like, hey, what are your major concern to adapt SaaS platforms or SaaS applications? Their main concern is the application access and the privilege levels, right? Hey, what is the application quality? I'm not sure, like, I don't know how do I trust that environment, whether I would get a seamless access or consistent access. Not only the seamless, the consistency is important for a lot of applications. So that's been a major issue for them. And then when you look at the workforce, the 48%, we know that after post-COVID, like pretty much all of us were working from home, especially knowledge workers. And then, slowly we've been coming down, we're going to offices and whatnot, but still, we are in a hybrid work environment now. So 48% of the knowledge workers will be working from home or from remote locations. And then, according to our own Semantic Threat Hunter team, there has been a 66% increase in the affected organizations because of the ransomware compared to like previous years. And this is just going to grow increase, and it's not stopping anywhere. So these are like some of the concerns that our enterprise IT landscape is observing these days. Okay, now let's look at how the enterprise IT is accessing applications, where the workloads are and all that. This picture is obviously looks simple, but I'll imagine the picture that I'm just going to describe, right? Users are everywhere, right? They are in the offices, they are in the homes, work like accessing applications from homes and internet kiosks or remote locations, wherever that they are working from. And then now look at the workloads. Workloads have been centralized in data centers before. So it was easy to protect them and provide consistent access and all that. Like last few years, you might have seen these workloads have been migrating from data centers to other areas like the clouds, internet, infrastructure as service, public clouds, or as SaaS applications. These days, like majority of applications are used as SaaS, whether it is Office 365 or Salesforce or any applications, these are all SaaS applications. And then not only data centers, private data centers, enterprises are building private clouds. So these applications are like everywhere, right? So now if you imagine users are everywhere and applications are everywhere and you need to provide a consistent access for all these users to these applications. Just imagine that picture, it would be chaos, right? Like lines going from all over the place and like you can't control it. So what did the enterprises do? Hey, I can't manage this chaos. I need to control this part. Okay, let's choke it, right? That's what the current infrastructure is, right? Create a choke point, bring all the traffic to a central location, and then control it, and then spread it out. The users or anyone who is coming, wherever that they are coming from, bring them to the choke point, and then spread out to the desired destinations. That's what the enterprises have been doing. But there are several problems with that kind of infrastructure, as you can see, right? Inefficient cloud access. Now, you are hairpinning the traffic, any application traffic that is that users are trying to access, right? They are not able to go to the application directly to the cloud. And then the second one is insufficient VPN capacity. And we have seen, I used to work at a VPN product company during the COVID time, and just in one quarter, our revenues shot up significantly because everyone is working from home. We're forced to work from home. And then all the enterprises are forced to increase their VPN capacity in a jiffy, right? And all those were like hardware devices and centralized places. It's really very difficult to increase the VPN capacity. So obviously users had like several problems and there were productivity issues and people had a lot of issues. And the poor application quality, right? So now again, like piggybacking on the first point, where you are backhauling the traffic and all the application traffic needs to come into a central place. And there are multiple points of failure in the choking point because you are using different products for different issues and different functions. So anything can fail and then your application will suffer, your quality would suffer. And as we talk about the end goal for this whole thing is having a good application experience and consistent application experience, not just good. And the compromised security is another issue. Right now, you need to decrypt the traffic and you're decrypting it in these nodes so that like they can inspect the traffic and all that. So that has become, you need to trust a third-party products to decrypt and then have visibility into the data. And operational complexities. Now, we all know, right? You all know you get requests, hey, I want to onboard this new application. The HR wants to onboard this application or engineering wants to onboard generative AI because we need to use like code assist. So these are not easy things just to onboard when you have this kind of choking points that are coming in because you need to really plan and ensure that just because you are onboarding a new application, it is not impacting your critical applications that you have engineered your network for. So these are all several issues with having this kind of infrastructure where you create a choking point. So that's where the VeloCloud, VMware VeloCloud SASE comes into play. Right? So we have the technologies to support the users coming from anywhere. They can be remote users working from home and remote locations, or folks working at the branch offices, and also connected automobiles. There are several areas where, like a police departments, police wants to use to have a connectivity all the time and a consistent connectivity. So we have support for all these things with the different technologies, and we will be double clicking on each of these access methods as we go through. And then from the security point of view, we have solutions for providing the security at the edge as well as providing the security in the cloud, so that you don't have to create a choking point. And the applications can be anywhere. So how do we do that? So our approach is to deliver the network and security services as a hosted environment using the kind of global infrastructure, so that we bring these services closer to the user and closer to the application, right? We are not bringing the users and applications to a choking point. We are actually taking these, spreading them out and bringing them closer to the users and applications. So now, if you imagine, like redraw the picture, it would look like this, right? So it is a global cloud infrastructure, and the users can pop into the cloud, whichever is closer to their environment, and pop out wherever the applications are. And we use the fast interconnects in the cloud to provide very low latency access for users when they are accessing the applications. So now let's double click onto each part of it, right? So first we'll look at the connectivity part. Going to a little bit basics, I'm sure many of you are aware or know why SD-WAN exists in the first place. But I just want to give a refresh to folks who might not be aware of SD-WAN. Generally, enterprises use these private links, MPLS or the VPNs, to connect to the branch offices, to the central offices. And these connectivities are very expensive. And it takes months and months to configure a provision and configure any of these links. And it's very expensive. So the SD-WAN on top of, it basically uses the different kinds of underlay links and provides an overlay on top of these underlay, so that any errors or any issues with the underlay links are corrected, and a seamless, consistent access provided to the applications between, whether different branch offices, whether the branch office is connecting to the central location, or the users from the branch office accessing the internet applications, where we have hosted we call them the gateways, called VCGs. Some of the SD-WAN folks who know SD-WAN, they know the VCG is the gateway. It's hosted in the POPs and in strategic locations, and provide the same access. Right, so that seamless, consistent access is what is really required from application aspect of it. So when you kind of enlarge this picture, this is how it would look like. We use our secret sauce called DMPO. DMPO is an industry standard term, but how it is implemented is our secret sauce. We kind of alleviate some of the issues, as we said, the underlay issues, whether it's called packet drops or jitter, latency, by using our secret sauce between our edge device that is deployed at the branches and the office locations, and the gateways that are in the cloud. So as you can look at it, the last mile, right, we have POP locations within 10 milliseconds of majority of the customers where they are connecting from. And similarly, on the other side, in the first mile, we have deployed our gateways very close to the majority of the service providers at the large internet exchanges. So as you can see, bring the things closer to the applications and the users, and provide the efficiency and consistent access to the applications. Okay, so now we talked about what are the problems with the traditional MPLS kind of networks. MPLS is still there, it solved some problems, and obviously even though it is expensive, they're still there as a backup links and whatnot. But we said the configuration of MPLS links is very hard. So how did the SD-WAN solve the problem? So with the VeloCloud, orchestrator, VeloCloud Edge Orchestrator, we call that as a VECO now, VeloCloud Edge Orchestrator, the deployment of SD-WAN is very, very simple. I know like Duncan can talk about it a little bit when he's talking about this. So one of our like a financial insurance service customer, they were having a lot of problems with the dropped voice calls and video buffering problems and whatnot. And then they started deploying our SD-WAN, and they were able to deploy 5,000 edges in 32 days as a phase 1. And then when you look at the phase 2, they were able to deploy close to around 8,000 edges in 10 days. That's how easy to deploy SD-WAN. And then as you can look at on the chart up there is once you deploy SD-WAN with the DMPO, the voice quality and video quality has increased a lot. And underneath, as you can see, as the number of edges getting deployed, their support cases have come down significantly. So it's very easy to deploy SD-WAN at a very high scale. And finally, before I hand it over to Duncan to talk about the connectivity, how they solved using VeloCloud, we recently, just now in this Explore, announced Edge 710 5G, 720, 740, where consolidating not only the internet, consolidating the wireless access technologies, where you can use one device for providing that. Similarly, DMPO technology helps in wireless access perspective as well. With that, I would request Duncan to take us through how they used VeloCloud.
All right, thank you. Okay, so we've been a Velo customer now for going on 6 years. Our path to SD-WAN was an obvious one. We've been a managed service provider for 20 years, and building on networking solutions about 10 years ago was the next natural choice for us. When we started evaluating SD-WAN providers, about 6-7 years ago, there weren't that many options. It's not like the market today where you see there's 30, 40 choices. The market's really, really saturated. But even today, there's still market leaders. Velo were really the bleeding edge of the market 6 years ago. They had, at that time, and these numbers stick with me, I'm a product guy. At that time, they had about 30% market share. They were a leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant, and even today, they've stuck, and they remain holding that posture. So a quick overview of our journey with Velo over the last 6 years. In 6 years, we have trumped over 10,000 devices under management. I'm going to talk a little bit about what management means to us. Automation. This was absolutely a key decision in our choice going with Velo over some of the other providers. When you're managing that many devices, that many customers, having a robust API or being able to talk to the device at the device level is an absolute. We have to be able to understand uptime, we have to be able to understand KPIs, we have to be able to sense the device. And I'm going to show you a little bit about how we do that, what we do with that. We could not choose a provider if we did not understand uptime, if we did not understand other features that we could extrapolate from the device, such as who the carrier is. And that's actually part of our core service that we provide. One of the next ones is implementation. Although this is not akin and this is not a direct Velo feature, we have worked hard to build relationships with national installation vendors so that we can truck roll incredibly quickly, incredibly fast. And by the way, this is not just a Velo installation. Think of this through the paradigm of networking, because customers don't just necessarily want a Velo box. They might want a Wi-Fi box. They might want a firewall. And so truck roll to us means through the spectrum of a networking solution, all of it. Okay, so when we're looking at that, we're looking through the spectrum of a whole networking solution, whatever it may be. Integration, we've talked about that a little bit, networking as a solution, and then portal integration. I'm going to show you our portal. And then, of course, KPIs and support all play into the ability to provide quick support All of that plays to low churn rate, all of that plays to your NPS score. Okay, so this chart is really an illustration of what we put together. I think this is about 3 years old. What we put together as a service on how we sell and deploy Velo very, very quickly. Back 5, 6 years ago, Velo started off as that multi-branch capability. But as was mentioned a few moments ago, it is not that today. You've got distributed users, you've got distributed applications. How many of you work from home today? Just raise, right, well over 50% of you are working from home, and I would guess that probably 100% of you were not in branches or locations during the pandemic. The point here is Velo, fantastic branch solution. We're going to talk about SSE and how it complements when you've got that hybrid situation. So Velo, great solution, but we're thinking more of networking as a service and how we need to complement additional solutions on top of it. Installation. No two customers are the same. And when we were building out this solution, we had to think about self-installation, remote hands, and customers come to us all the time, and we have those two types of customer. The customer who's, yep, I can install it, you configure the device, I can plug it in, I can install it, and you can configure it remotely, or that customer who needs that high-touch service, wants a tech on site, wants it installed. All day long, we get both customers. Or we get a hybrid where they want 50% of them installed, they want 50% of them remote, and they want 50% of them, to install themselves. We get both, and so we need that agility in our installation process to do both. Support. Building a robust support model. Now, this support model is not Velo specific for us. This is our support model, I will add, across about 50 lines of business. We just extend it across the next service that my team builds. Then finally, across the bottom, the last 5 layers of additional things. LAN-side consulting. It makes no sense adding a wide area network service if the LAN is in trouble. If the LAN is not healthy, it does no good having an effective wide area network if your LAN is not optimized. One of the first things we do is we run software, we probe into the local area network, we make sure the local area network is optimized so that the wide area network can be effective. We've found that this value is one of the biggest values that we provide to customers. Full feature set. This is really just the building blocks that a lot of what you touched on. Yes. But we provide the SME expertise to optimize for the customer to get the most out of this. Management model. We've got 10,000 customers and we've got 3 support models. We have customers who self-manage, customers who co-manage, and then we provide full management. I will say about 60% of our customers we fully manage. About 30% of customers are co-managed, meaning the responsibility matrix that I publish out, we have rights on the box, they have rights on the box, and then about 10% of our the customer says, I don't want you touching it. We just want you to provide us the service, and then we want full management over the service. Now, from a legal perspective, I write down my SLAs on that service, because if anything goes wrong with it, I want to protect myself because the customer's changed something. I don't have the same responsibilities if the customer downs a service that my techs, my engineers, my operations team are not changing and not responsible for. So I'm not obviously going to provide the same service level agreement on that service. That all makes sense, right? Those are the sort of things that we engineer into a service, and customers are great with that. But those are considerations when building out a service for 10, 20, 30,000 devices that you need to be aware of. Advanced circuit management, and then finally, rapid scale portal. And we'll show you some screens that do that. This is actually the first screen on our rapid scale portal. We invested about $20 million in building a single pane of glass. This single pane of glass spans all our customers. We've got thousands of customers. I can log in, I can see any customer, but a customer logs in, they see theirs, and then there is role-based access control on this. So you've got access where customers can be a billing admin, they can be a license admin, they can be a full admin, and they can see everything. Well, what the customer would do is they'd go down to VeloCloud and they would see the device. A green one is a device that is connected, a red one is a device that is either having issues or is not yet lit up. And I'll show you on the next screen. What you see here is a healthy device, no action needed, unhealthy device. It raises an alert to our ticket system, ServiceNow, and that lets our techs know that they need to call the third-party carrier. Now, as I said at the beginning, we're owned by Cox Communications. About 40% of our devices, we can go straight to Cox and say, hey, is there a problem with the underlay? But about 60% of them could be AT&T, Sprint, Verizon, whomever. Guess what? We call them as well. That's part of providing a Cadillac service, a huge differentiator that nobody else I'm aware of in the industry does. VeloCloud as a service tells us, gives us the ability to know who that carrier is. We've got all the numbers, we've got everything. We inform the carrier, hey, there's a problem with your circuit. Please look into it, please stand it up ASAP. And then there's other services like LTE and 5G, and you've got those tightly coupled and integrated on your newer devices. But having that as additional value add is massive, massive. All right, back to you.
So we talked about how the branch users working from branches, VeloCloud SD-WAN solves that problem, and we now double click into the hybrid workforce. The traditional VPN solved that problem for quite some time. We all use VPNs to connect and all that. And we talked about the inefficiencies and the problems with the traditional VPN services that we currently use. So what does VeloCloud SD Access do? Right? We obviously, I don't want to read the first line because it's the basic thing that's the service that it provides. Extend security, connectivity to remote workers and devices as well, likewise. And it is built based on principles of zero trust. Right? The principles of zero trust is, first of all, do not trust anything. Do not trust the device, do not trust the user, do not trust where the user is coming from, and do not trust the applications that user is accessing. Right? So there many a times, like if you use VPN, you log in and then you get access to the whole network. And let's say if one application in that network is compromised and there can be a problem with the lateral transport, like whoever is the infiltrators can go from one application to the other application, jump from one to the other. So what zero trust demands is that do not trust the applications as well. Right? The user needs to be authenticated for every application. And sustain user experience with path optimized access. It's running on internet. Things change. You can't assume that if you come up with a path and all that path is always working consistently, right? You need to be able to adapt to the changes that are happening in the network. That's what VeloCloud SD Access does. And easy to deploy and manage, that's as Duncan mentioned, SD-WAN, we do that, and we do the same thing with SD Access as well. It has to be easy to deploy and scale. And more importantly, you don't need any hardware for SD Access. It is purely software based, and it supports all kinds of platforms, whether it is Mac OS, Windows, iOS, Android, and Linux systems. So how does the path optimized zero trust network access work? Exactly same as that what we discussed earlier. Bring the services closer to the user, closer to the applications. So we have something called relays that are deployed across the global infrastructure, where user pops in. Like obviously the relays don't decrypt the packets. They just find out, provide the best route for that specific connectivity. And we can easily provide a private segmented access using SD access. Like for example, the way that here I showed, there are 4 users in the HR department. So they all have access to the HR apps. But Bob needs to access the FinApps applications, but not the other users. So you can easily create a segmented access for Bob. He has access to HR apps, FinApps, and also he can talk to Joe in the HR department. Similarly, Joe needs to access engineering apps, but not the FinApps. So you can create a community for Joe. So this thing is like very, very easier to do with SD access. And in the interest of time, I'm going a little bit faster, and I'd like Duncan to convey how they're solving the hybrid workforce problem.
All right, so perfect, thank you. So hybrid is massive for our company. We've got, I think, over 4,000 customers providing, gosh, probably close to 30 solutions. Obviously, not all those customers are taking 30 solutions, but some stats I want to hone in on here. 53% of employees are hybrid. If you go back a decade, I think we'd all agree hybrid was kind of being fought by employers, and COVID accelerated that, right? It pushed the work from home initiative. 27% of employees are exclusively remote, and 21% are remote capable. I think everybody will remember Microsoft back in 2007 coined a phrase, anytime, any place, it was anytime, any place, anywhere. And that was coined around the paradigm of their collaboration suite. It was coined around Microsoft 365. This goes along the exact same lines that neither employees, our workforce, or applications are fixed anymore. We are all of us are distributed now. I just think about my own use case, and I think about, Monday I'm working at home, and I've been remote for 20 years now, but Monday I'm working at home, Tuesday I'm in an airport, Wednesday I'm at some location, customer prem, our office, or at a conference, and then end of the week I'm back at home. And then that cycle repeats the next week, but with a different pattern. So as a user or as an employee, I am highly distributed. My whole team is highly distributed. But then going to the bottom of the stack, our applications are highly distributed. And we just have to look at SaaS applications. They have exploded. SaaS applications have gone from, I was reading a stat last night, that the average number of SaaS applications we're using as individuals, as companies, has exploded 500% in the last decade. It is insane. So this really plays to the networking and why we need to protect users, devices, and applications. What's the solution? SD-WAN, SASE, Zero Trust Network Access. So getting back to all of this, we are becoming more connected. Hybrid will definitely become more of a use case. Even if we take the applications out of the equation, I look at my own company. 5 years ago, we were a hosted service provider. Guess what? Today we support 4 cloud fabrics. I wouldn't be shocked if it was 6 in 2 years. So 5 years ago, we were hosted in our own data centers, and today we are hosted, we are AWS, we are Azure, we are Google. So the number of cloud fabrics being supported are highly expanding, so the application base is expanding. Devices, it's not just laptop anymore, it's laptop, it's cell phone, it's tablet, so the number of endpoints are exploding, and then where we're working, obviously exploding. So hardware, yes, great for branch office and fixed location, and that's VeloCloud all day long, and we're selling that all day long. But that doesn't do me any good when I'm in the airport. It doesn't do me any good while I'm at the conference. That's where SSE comes into play. It is a fantastic solution to couple with it, and it's absolutely something we're betaing right now, we're looking into, we're looking to couple with it for the hybrid location to see what we can do to complement that. And it's a big ask from our customers who are basically saying, what can you do to address the 40% or in some cases the 90% of our workforce that isn't in an office all the time, but they're anywhere. And that's the problem, is that hybrid workforce is completely unpredictable. They are working from multiple locations and they're working from different places on different days. So that's where software addresses the challenge and hardware cannot. Software can basically move with the user, it can move with the applications and provide security for the users wherever they may be. It meets the users, it meets the applications where they are at.
Okay, so we solved the connectivity problem, right? We solved the connectivity problem for branch users and we solved the hybrid workforce connectivity problems. Now we will talk about how we secure them, right? I know Duncan pointed out like SSE, some part of it. So some of the security challenges for the distributed and enterprise edge. I know we are short on time, but I found it very hard to limit these challenges to like one slide. Actually, it can go to like 4 or 5 slides, but I need to shrink it to say like only like one slide. There are plethora of problems that we need to solve. So I'm not going to go into all of them because of the lack of time. I'm just going to delve into the solutions that what VeloCloud SSE provides. And certainly these are all the challenges that we currently have. So when we talk about the branch, and we imagine the first picture that I showed where you created the choking point, and the problem with that is all this traffic is backhauled to the choking point and then they inspect it and then sent to the web. So in the branch firewall, what we do with the SD-WAN VeloCloud branch is we enhance the firewall capabilities with IPS, IDS capabilities, and URL filtering and IP reputation and a bunch of other features so that you can directly go to internet applications from the branch itself, from the edge. You don't have to backhaul to your data center. So that reduces the need for your the firewall capacity at the data centers, right? So these are all the features that are there in the branch, the SD-WAN edge device, IPS, IDS, stateful firewall, URL filtering, malicious IP filtering. So pretty much you don't need another firewall device at the branch. So you can just use a VeloCloud SD-WAN edge and use the firewall capabilities there. So the next one, so yes, you want to go to internet applications, you want to do a lot more, probably you want to do the SSL decryption and then look at in more deep for things that are going outside like the SaaS apps and other things, rather than you don't want to just bifurcate from the branch. So what we do is we also integrate with our third-party SSEs, obviously the semantic as well, that you can directly connect from the branch using a IPsec tunnel to the cloud, wherever the cloud is, and that IPsec tunnel creation is fully automated. You don't have to manually create these tunnels from the branches to the semantic cloud. So it's been automated. All you need to do is from the VeloCloud orchestrator, you can configure these and deploy the solution. So this is another way to secure. And by doing so, you are bringing in plethora of capabilities that we have at Symantec security service. This is the SSE service that we're talking about. It provides you cloud firewall, anti-malware, sandboxing, URL filtering, CASB, DLP, like a remote browser isolation. So all the first the slide that I showed, all the challenges, I think that slide can go to like 5 slides. And the Symantec being like one of the security vendor for top 100 big enterprises, provides like all the security functions needed. And from the VeloCloud SD-WAN, we take our traffic from the wherever closer to the user, and the semantic cloud is deployed in using the same framework, similar framework that I talked about. Global infrastructure is deployed in the cloud, so with very low latency. So now you put that picture together, right? So you can offload traffic from the branch if you want to do that, and you can connect to the semantic using the SSE that we talk about. Earlier in the earlier side, I mentioned that you connect the IPsec tunnels from the branches. We also create even more simpler solution from the SD-WAN gateway. You can send traffic to the semantic cloud. So you don't have to create tunnels from the branch devices. That is another solution that we have for this. So right, depending on your use case, right? Because there is no single solution, as we talked about, the applications everywhere, users everywhere, there is no single solution. Duncan talked about that as well. So there are many use cases, and the product solutions need to be able to solve those use cases, right? Whether the traffic is branch to branch, branch to cloud, branch to data center, we have solutions with strong security capabilities. That is all. That's not it all, right? We talked about, okay, how you can use semantic, how you can use VeloCloud being the market leader in the SD-WAN. Your customers might have had relationships with other third-party security vendors. We also support that, right? We have connectivity to automation and cloud-to-cloud connectivity to other third-party vendors like Zscaler, Palo Alto Networks, and others. So if you already have invested in those security solutions, you can continue to use that, and we provide that access as well. And
yeah, in the interest of time, I'm going to make a couple of points about SSE that I think are fantastic. So we did point out, obviously everybody knows Velo is a hardware option, but and you know we know that your legacy options were connecting users with physical locations. That is not how we work anymore. What we want to do is we want to connect a highly distributed workforce, so me here today or me in the airport tomorrow, with a highly distributed application base. And your legacy connection types didn't allow you to do that. They basically said, hey, you can dial in, everybody remembers VPN, you can dial into this physical asset and then you can obtain the assets that were there. That's just not how we work anymore. We basically want to connect the user with distributed applications, and SSE allows you to do that with zero hardware. This is a software-based approach that provides you zero trust network access. And I think that's the important point here, is it's low latency, it meets the user exactly where the applications are and provides them secure tunneling, user to application, user to application, user to application. And that's why it's such a fantastic solution to complement SD-WAN, not replace. There's absolutely a need for SD-WAN. And that's what we're hearing from our customer base. We're hearing that we can get the secure web gateway, the zero trust network access, all of the features of Cloud Access Security Broker or CASB, right? And all of those feature functionalities, things like your whitelisting, blacklisting, all of those features built into the solution, that's really what it harnesses. But again, I can't emphasize this enough, without the need for hardware. And when you're dealing with a highly distributed workforce, I talk to companies all the time that are, hey, we got 300 employees, 200 of them are remote. That doesn't make sense to ship out 200 VeloCloud devices. And then, oh, by the way, when 30 of them are traveling, they're not going to exactly put them in their backpack and, you know, go to the air and plug it in. And you need a software, you need a software solution that's on parity. And that's how you need to start thinking about SSE. It is a software solution that's exactly on parity, and that's what Symantec have done with this. They've made it on parity. It gives exactly the same feature parity and allows you to meet the users with where the applications are. That's the best way I can sort of frame it.
Cool, great.
Yeah.
So I know we are out of time. As I said, like we are engineers. I'm going to skip the visibility and reporting part. We have like there's a lot of documentation we can help you with how like you operate the network, as Duncan mentioned. I just want to leave you with these two pictures, right? So as I said, right, we are engineers. We want to show you, brag about the numbers here, right? So we have like within last 3 years, that 350,000 edges have been deployed. These are monitored from our hosted environment, and with our providers and on-prem that are not connected, total 600,000 edge devices have been deployed. And these are like some of our biggest customers. The reason why we wanted to show this, right? So it is significantly challenging to scale enterprise network. And I'm sure like some of you might have faced that challenge, and majority of our competitors fall flat at 1,000 sites or maybe 1,500 sites. And at 15,000 sites that one of our financial services customer, we are delivering that consistently. Okay, so with that, I'll leave you. Thank you very much for attending this session on a Thursday. I know we are between you and your flights back home. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, we'll be here. Please reach out to us and we can answer anything.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you all.